with China being a small economy, and maybe you feel like China was pushed around a lot, but they haven't fully appreciated the fact that China really is going to be the big kid on the block.
Elon Musk has sent shockwaves through global markets with a stark warning. China is on the brink of collapse. With GDP growth plummeting to just 3% and debt soaring past 300% of GDP, could Musk's chilling predictions signal a monumental shift in the global economy? China's economy is crumbling. China, a colossal giant, once admired and envied by nations around the world, is now teetering on the brink of collapse. It is a nation that once soared to incredible heights, now grappling with formidable challenges that threaten its very foundation. What went wrong? How did the world's second-largest economy, seemingly invincible just a few years ago, find itself in such a precarious position? These questions echo in the minds of economists, investors, and business leaders as they watch the unfolding drama with bated breath. Elon Musk, a visionary entrepreneur, has issued stark warnings about the implications of this turmoil. As the world holds its breath, the consequences of China's unraveling extend far beyond its borders, leaving us to wonder, what will happen if this once mighty power falls? The answers could reshape our global landscape in unimaginable ways. Recent data reveals a worrying situation for China's economy. Picture this. Factories that used to be busy and full of life are now quiet and empty, with many shutting down. Exports are dropping sharply, like leaves falling in autumn, making people wonder if this vital sector can survive. If China's manufacturing, the backbone of its economy, keeps falling apart, what will happen to the global supply chains that rely on it? These questions are becoming more urgent, leaving everyone to think about the shaky state of an economy that once seemed unbeatable. The entire world has grown used to the "Made in China" label, known for its low prices and efficient production. However, with a sharp decline in exports, the situation is becoming serious. Imagine the impact on the global economy. If China's factories stay silent, we might face shortages of crucial products. Everyday items that people rely on could become hard to find or much more expensive. As consumers, we should consider how this disruption could change our daily lives. The knock-on effects could be felt in every corner of the globe, raising questions about our reliance on Chinese manufacturing. Elon Musk has not shied away from addressing these critical issues. His warnings resonate throughout the business community, emphasizing the interconnectedness of today's global economy. He highlights that industries, particularly those reliant on Chinese manufacturing for essential components, may face catastrophic disruptions. As you think about your daily life, how might these changes affect the products you rely on? The real estate sector, a critical pillar of China's economic foundation, is crumbling under immense pressure. Rising defaults and plunging property values paint a terrifying picture of a market in chaos. Musk has sounded the alarm on these disturbing trends, suggesting they could unleash a rapid and catastrophic economic downturn. As property owners confront the chilling reality that their once stable investments are now standing on the brink, a wave of anxiety sweeps through the nation. How do you feel knowing that your home, your investment, might be in jeopardy? The rise and fall of China. To truly understand the seriousness of Elon Musk's warning, we need to take a journey back in time. Picture China in the late 1970s. Wow, a country isolated from the world, its potential locked away. Under the leadership of Deng Xiaoping, everything changed. China shifted from a closed economy to one that embraced capitalism and welcomed foreign investment. This bold move sparked an economic revolution, lifting millions out of poverty and transforming China into a global powerhouse. As we reflect on this incredible transformation, we need to look back at the sacrifices made along the way. How did a nation with so much promise turn its back on its past, and what did it cost? With foreign money pouring in and a massive labor force, global companies rushed to China. The nation became known as the world's factory, producing everything from the latest electronics to essential textiles. But there's an old saying, "What goes up must come down." Was this rapid growth built on solid ground? Or was it a shaky tower just waiting to collapse? Elon Musk is the visionary mastermind behind a number of successful businesses and is someone who has harnessed China's manufacturing strength for his ambitious projects, from electric vehicles to renewable energy solutions. Musk knows all too well the risks involved. As China's growth starts to slow, he warns that an unstable China could disrupt the supply chains that support modern economies. Think about your gadgets, the smartphones, laptops, and appliances you rely on every day. What would happen if Chinese manufacturing faced a major disruption? The consequences could be serious. Understanding these risks is crucial, especially as we look to the future. The urgency to pay attention has never been more important. The manufacturing sector on the brink? For decades, this nation has proudly held the title of the world's factory, churning out everything from cutting-edge electronics to essential textiles at an astonishing scale. Yet now, troubling signs emerge, suggesting that this powerful engine of growth is sputtering, casting shadows of uncertainty across the globe. Have you ever wondered what happens when a nation built on manufacturing faces collapse? Factory closures have become alarmingly frequent, with businesses grappling to survive in a landscape marked by soaring costs and plummeting demand. The COVID-19 pandemic was a wake-up call, revealing vulnerabilities in supply chains that many believed were unshakable. Each shuttered factory echoes a chilling reminder. If China's manufacturing sector collapses, the shockwaves could ripple through the entire world, affecting everything from consumer prices to job security in ways we can hardly comprehend. What if the very gadgets you rely on every day, the smartphones, laptops, and appliances, suddenly became scarce? Compounding these challenges is a devastating real estate crisis. Property values are in free fall, and defaults are rising like a tide threatening to engulf the economy. The interconnectedness of these two sectors means that as manufacturing falters, so too does the broader economy, creating a vicious cycle that could lead to catastrophic consequences. Imagine the jarring impact on your everyday life if production lines were to slow to a crawl or come to a grinding halt. The gadgets we rely on could vanish from store shelves, their prices skyrocketing as choices dwindle. This isn't just a distant concern, it's a threatening reality that demands our attention. As the potential crisis looms, the question arises: is there preparedness for the fallout from a manufacturing sector on the brink? Understanding the challenges that lie ahead is vital as we navigate this uncertain terrain. Will we rise to the occasion, adapt, and innovate, or will we find ourselves grappling with the consequences of a world forever altered? The clock is ticking and the future hangs in the balance. Are you ready for what lies ahead? Debt, a ticking time bomb. The threats to China's stability extend far beyond manufacturing woes. Beneath the surface lies a ticking time bomb: China's soaring national debt, which now surpasses a staggering 300% of its GDP. What does this mean for the average citizen? As the Chinese government has leaned heavily on debt to drive growth, the consequences are becoming increasingly alarming. Inflated asset prices and a threatening housing bubble could destabilize the economy, casting a shadow over the nation's future. Local governments are borrowing aggressively to fund ambitious infrastructure projects, often with little to show for their investments. These white elephant projects serve as stark reminders of wasted expenditure, embodying massive financial risks with insufficient returns. Imagine pouring money into a lavish building that stands empty, a symbol of misguided priorities. As the government scrambles to maintain growth through debt-fueled initiatives, the long-term consequences become more dire. Is this a sustainable model, or are we witnessing the gradual buildup of a catastrophic crisis? Innovators like Elon Musk have long warned of the dangers of financial irresponsibility. He cautions that taking on too much debt can lead to catastrophic consequences, a message that feels especially urgent today. As Elon Musk shares his insights, a pressing question rises. How critical is financial prudence in our relentless pursuit of innovation? Are we sacrificing long-term stability for short-term profits? The choices we make now could dramatically reshape the economic landscape of tomorrow. With the nation balancing on a razor's edge, a haunting question surfaces. Can China find a way to stabilize its economy, or are we witnessing the slow unraveling of a once mighty power? The world is watching, holding its breath as it awaits the outcome of this unfolding drama. Will the current turmoil spark the reforms needed for recovery, or will it plunge China deeper into chaos? In this tense atmosphere, the answers may not be simple, but they are crucial for grasping what lies ahead, not just for China, but for the entire globe. China's economic woes have also sparked major social unrest, creating a powder keg ready to explode. The impact of China's economic problems goes far beyond numbers. The country's social fabric is coming apart, with rising unemployment, especially among young people, threatening to spark widespread dissatisfaction and unrest. Imagine a disillusioned workforce that once took pride in a growing economy, now protesting against a government that seems unable to meet their needs. Economic troubles can create a breeding ground for social unrest. Are we on the verge of a societal revolution? Historically, China has controlled dissent through censorship and repression. But as economic uncertainty looms like a dark cloud, the potential for civil unrest grows. Recent protests in various cities show a rising discontent among citizens, driven by unmet expectations and fewer opportunities. The question is, how long can the government hold on to power if these economic issues keep getting worse? In a country where stability has always meant economic growth, even a small problem can create a spark. Citizens are watching closely, their frustration bubbling just below the surface. The shaky state of the economy adds to their worries, and the tension is clear. A single event, a news story, or a small protest could set off a wave of anger, sending people into the streets united in a cry for change. In this charged atmosphere, the government would have no choice but to face the growing dissatisfaction of its people, showing that their concerns cannot be ignored any longer. As you think about the possibility of turmoil, consider this. How prepared is the government to deal with widespread discontent? The situation has reached a critical point, and disregarding the voices of the people could result in significant effects. Are we witnessing the start of a major shift in the social landscape, or will the government maintain its authority? The future is uncertain, and the outcome is still hanging in the balance. A housing nightmare. Diving deeper into the real estate crisis, we see it continuing to spiral out of control. Countless families are caught in a web of unfinished projects, struggling under the weight of mortgages on properties that have nosedived in value. Trust in the market is fading. As you visualize this scenario, consider your own home investments. How secure do you feel knowing that a significant portion of your net worth could be hanging by a thread? The real estate sector has long been a cornerstone of China's economic growth, but it now finds itself on the brink of collapse. Many homeowners are trapped in a nightmare, with properties worth far less than what they paid, leaving them underwater on their mortgages. This situation poses severe risks to financial institutions and threatens to destabilize the entire economic framework. What happens when a housing market falls apart? The effects can be disastrous. As the crisis deepens, we must reflect on contrasting visions for the future. Elon Musk advocates for sustainable housing, emphasizing the importance of responsible development and environmental stewardship. His perspective raises crucial questions. In light of the current turmoil, how essential is it to embrace sustainable practices in urban development? Can innovation pave the way for a better future? Or are we doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past? In an effort to stabilize the weakening market, the Chinese government has implemented various measures, including curbing new construction projects and tightening borrowing regulations. However, the effectiveness of these initiatives remains uncertain. Will these efforts be enough to restore faith in the real estate market, or are we merely delaying the inevitable? The world watches closely, fully aware that a collapse in the housing market could trigger a catastrophic domino effect. As China faces its own internal economic struggles, particularly in its real estate sector, the implications for the global economy become even more severe. The geopolitical fallout from a collapsing China cannot be ignored. As tensions mount between global powers, the US and its allies may need to reevaluate their economic strategies. This shift could have far-reaching consequences for international relations and trade, altering alliances and disrupting established partnerships. Imagine a world where nations scramble to fill the void left by a deteriorating China. What new dynamics would emerge in the global arena? Elon Musk, whose enterprises are deeply intertwined with global supply chains, has raised alarms about potential fallout. He emphasizes that disruptions in China could critically affect the production of electric vehicles and batteries, leading to delays and soaring costs. With the automotive industry heavily reliant on Chinese manufacturing, the stakes are hitting new heights. As business leaders watch the geopolitical landscape shift, they must consider the risks associated with over-reliance on a single economy. This brings us to a crucial question. What future can we envision if a collapse creates an economic vacuum in Asia? Would emerging economies step in to fill the gap, or would the region plunge into chaos? The answers to these questions will shape the world's economic landscape for years to come. As we navigate these uncertainties, one thing is clear. The repercussions of a collapsing China will ripple across the globe, affecting not just economies, but the very fabric of international relations. The ripple effects. Understanding the profound implications of a collapsing China, it's clear that the aftershocks will send ripples across the globe, affecting families and communities far and wide. Disrupted supply chains would lead to a surge in the prices of everyday goods. Picture walking into a store only to find that your favorite items have skyrocketed in cost overnight. For families already struggling to make ends meet, this scenario could spell disaster. What would it mean for businesses that rely on affordable materials? The impact would be devastating. Consumer confidence plays a critical role in economic stability. As uncertainty mounts, people are likely to cut back on spending, triggering further economic contraction. This decline could lead to widespread layoffs and a downward spiral that seems impossible to escape. Are we prepared to confront this looming crisis, or are we heading toward economic despair? In today's interconnected world, the global economy resembles a fragile web, with China as a crucial player. The potential collapse of its economy could send shockwaves worldwide, impacting nations and industries alike. Imagine the fallout. Businesses scrambling to adapt, countries facing economic instability, and consumers grappling with soaring prices. The pressing question is whether proactive measures can be taken to fortify our economies against this impending crisis. How will we navigate the storm if China's economic structure falters? Rise through resilience. China's precarious situation can become a global crisis, and the implications of Elon Musk's warnings are sending shockwaves through the world. He emphasizes that the world is in a constant state of flux, and we must be aware of how these changes can shape our lives. With China's challenges at the forefront, the question arises, How do these shifts affect us all? What can we learn from China's experience? As various countries grapple with their economic struggles, it becomes increasingly clear that sound financial practices and sustainable choices are crucial for stability. But how do these lessons translate to our global economy? The interconnectedness of nations means that what happens in one part of the world can send shockwaves across the globe. Musk's vision for a sustainable future stands in stark contrast to the issues plaguing China. As we witness the fallout from a crumbling real estate market and rising debt, we must ponder the broader implications for international trade and global dynamics. How might these events shape our economies and everyday lives in ways we haven't yet imagined? The future is unfolding before us, and the stakes are high. Will we see a ripple effect that alters the global landscape, or will nations find a way to navigate these turbulent waters? As we reflect on these questions, it's essential to remain vigilant and engaged. The journey ahead is uncertain, but understanding the implications of China's situation is vital for grasping the complexities of our interconnected world. What will the next chapter hold for us all? Only time will tell. What does Elon Musk's warning about China's potential collapse mean for the future of the global economy? Are we ready to face the storm? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more intriguing deep dives into the pressing issues around the globe. Thanks for watching,